Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Just wanted to inquire regarding a few um, areas within EMF and how come you research into this field so much?
Oh, it's life and death.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I had, um, yeah, so I had a good career, doing lots of different things, car design, um, charities in Africa, goodness knows what.
Hmm.
Um, and then I got a job doing IT consultancy at Sweden's biggest company, Ericsson Telecommunications. And on the building opposite to mine, there just a stone's throw away were 32 cell masts under full test.
Hmm.
And I had one that wouldn't go away, and I couldn't work. And I was like that for 2 years. And because as a physicist and an engineer, you know that electrosensitivity can't possibly exist, or we would all know about it, wouldn't we?
Hmm.
And so I just was stubborn and ignored the fact. I'd been to a lecture many years before by somebody about electrosensitivity.
Okay.
And so I knew in the back of my mind it existed. So I thought, well, actually, after 2 years of not working and having a strong migraine, day and night, week in, week out, that well, I got nothing wrong. I'll just switch everything off. So I switched cordless phone, mobile phone, Wi-Fi off. And so when I'd have the radiation coming into my bedroom, I then wallpapered the bedroom with reflective wallpaper, and just got better ever since.
That's very interesting. Is there any specific symptoms that you initially experienced or you still experience regarding EMF or EHS?
Sorry, is there any activity that what?
Is there any specific symptoms that you experienced initially or currently in regards to EMF and EHS?
Yes, loads. I mean, difficult. It's such a big. I mean, I can spend days answering that question. What aspect of it do you want me to talk about?
Let's say, how initially did you find out, and what were the specific devices you felt unease from in regards to EHS?
Sorry, the line isn't very good. You're distorting. What devices did I what?
What devices do you think impacted you the most in regards to EHS?
Oh, my mobile phone.
Hmm.
Not the strongest in terms of radiation, but strong. It's just on your person all the time, and when using it, held it against like everybody else does, but some which you should never ever do.
Hmm. And how?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Well, and that's followed by Wi-Fi. I'm particularly sensitive to Wi-Fi. The pattern of the signal is particularly aggressive. If you put it,
is it specifically 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz?
More 2.4 because I've had much more exposure to that, obviously.
Do you think that EHS impacts a lot of people and it sort of just goes unnoticed by people?
Oh, totally, absolutely, yeah. And and other effects. I mean, so much. I mean, if you look, for instance, at the Electro-Sensitives UK, it's a charity in the UK. If you look at their website, resources there, there's a report listing 120, is it, different symptoms you can get. It's almost anything can be generated by this, because every cell is so drastic in our bodies, is so drastically affected by different forms of electro pollution. It's such an enormous subject. There are so many different. I mean, how many octaves are there in normally considered to be in the electromagnetic spectrum? Is it 30 octaves? So you go from direct current or just or static voltage to just light is a million cycles a second. Then you go further, higher frequency than light, up to gamma rays. So, I mean, the spread of the kinds of radiation, and it's not only the frequency that's there, it's the power there, and it's the patterns of delivery. So, Wi-Fi sounds like a machine gun. It's 10 pulses a second, and they're short pulses, and so relatively static or relatively constant radiation seems to often less harmful than things like smart meters that have a very sharp, short pulse every 15 seconds, which are particularly difficult for us to cope with.
Do you think
biologically?
Do you think governments are aware of this issue, and is it something?
Do you think it's who's aware of this? Sorry?
Do you think governments are aware of this issue when setting up all of these Wi-Fi routers, this and that, in infrastructure?
No, not at all. No. It's so easy to blank out. It's deeply cultural. Most people still think I'm bonkers, even to think that sensitivity is real. And it took, I don't know, my brother and his wife are really, really nice people. And it wasn't till my late wife and I went on holiday with them, and my nephew and his girlfriend left the Wi-Fi on overnight, and the Wi-Fi router was directly below where I was sleeping, so it was like 2 meters away. And I woke up with most horrendous migraine, and I spent all day very, very noisily puking in the toilet, and nobody could avoid hearing it. And it took that to convince my brother and his wife that I wasn't faking it. So people close to me, other people around, in any roles, and most particularly technical people. So as I was, a technologist, as I was physicist and engineer and IT consultant, there was just so far away from anything I ever thought about to all this wonderful new technology that was so much of our lives now is damaging our health badly. And not only that, what really, really upsets me, and I think means the writing is on the wall for all of us, is the decimation of insect life, and hence insectivorous birds as well. This has happened already. I mean, I'm sitting in my kitchen here, and I can't see or hear or one insect. And was before we used to have things called like fly spray, because in the summer anyway, there's so many of the insects around.
Do you think EMF also impacts insects?
Without a doubt.
And from what we've conducted research, the ways birds migrate, and EHF has really impacted them in the way that they just get disoriented in where they need to go for, during winter times. and
Yes.
that leads to them dying.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yes. The total certainty. Sorry, and it's just there's no room for maneuver. There's no way to get away from it. The birds and their navigation, and the bees and insects navigation is also destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think the most EMF is emitted from?
Well, most. What do you? That's a bit of an imprecise question.
Say, for example, in consumer devices, the way consumers are impacted. What devices do you think impact people the most? Is it mobile phones like you just stated, or do you think there's something else that we are unaware of?
Once you're rendered sensitive and your body is unable to protect you from this, then you begin to become sensitive to low frequency. In the old days, it used to be only low frequency being around, i.e., no microwaves, no radio frequencies and things, which are the big problem now. In the old days, before wireless devices, electrosensitivity used to be mainly to low frequency. In other words, names, the fields coming off light bulbs and whatever else. And it was relatively rare, and it was only very, very sensitive people to low frequency that had problems. But now the fact that everybody is subject to relatively staggeringly high levels of microwave radiation. Microwave radiation is usefully absorbed by water in the air, and that's very useful for microwave engineers or telecoms engineers, so that you can have probably more than 1 million Wi-Fi transmitters in London now, but they don't all talk to each other. They don't all interfere because their radiation is absorbed by water. So if you're in an office with a few sources of Wi-Fi, the main absorbers are the pot plant and you, because of the high water content of both plants and us.
How do you think EMF can be proved to be harmful for people and ecology? I mean, I've read studies that they're sort of contradicting this and that, but from experiences of people and testimonials, it sort of goes against what the research says.
What goes against the research?
Say, for example, there are a few studies that state, 5G is safe for humans to a certain extent. But that may be, some people may be more sensitive to such frequencies than other people. So how can we actually prove that EMF in general is harmful for individuals?
It's like rolling off a log. I mean, so many people are so desperately sensitive to it. It's just that it's all being ignored, and the telecoms industry, the biggest industry we've ever known by a long way. It's bigger than defense. It's bigger than commercial agriculture. The crumbs off the table of their marketing budget just make sure that this stuff doesn't get out. But just like the tobacco industry did, only 10 times or 100,000 times worse. They keep selling so some study will show that fact, using a mobile phone increases your chance of cancer by 400%.
Mm-hmm.
And they will fund a similar study, except it will be done to make sure that it doesn't have any effect.
Mm-hmm.
And universities need the research money, so they'll still do the research, even though they know it won't. There's a very good novel come out recently, which I read a few months ago, about how a trial will be massaged and implement. Will be the final report will be strongly influenced by the commercial company that's funding the research.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Impossible People. I thoroughly recommend it. It's a very good book, very well written.
Okay, we'll read the book.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very, very well written, and very agreed a lot with my personal experience of being electrosensitive.
So you think, for example, if more funds are allocated towards, proving that EMF is actually harmful, that there would actually be a lot of literature that would be coming up?
What it needs is the industry makes so much money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they need to be taxed, a bit like what's called with the oil companies, a windfall tax. Needs a windfall tax, but steadily each year to fund some research organizations that look. It doesn't need proving; it's already been proven 1,000 times over. It's not the proof that needs doing. It's basically working out, investigating the mechanisms of harm better,
mm-hmm.
so that we can. So the big difference between smoking, it still does kill a lot of people,
mm-hmm.
than telecoms, is that with tobacco you're burning something, so you can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
But everything about telecoms is man-made, and therefore you can change every aspect of it. And so we need to find ways of redesigning. And so the engineer in me says, redesign the telecoms so that it doesn't do so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you one example. When a mobile phone first starts up, it starts at full power and then works out with the local cell mast what level. It keeps coming down to save battery life. So the full power to establish contact, then battery life, then to maximize battery life, cut the power down.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the other way around. It should work out as you first switch on a mobile phone. You should go from low through to higher. So take a little bit longer, like half a second longer, before the level is established. But you wouldn't be belting the owner of the mobile phone with full power
mm-hmm.
immediately. So it's just one tiny example of how you could change things so that things. Also, that all Wi-Fi routers. There's a Wi-Fi router that I read about this week. I'm thinking of getting because it only. Well, I'm not actually. Well, I think you're recommending it for other people, but obviously I don't use Wi-Fi. I switch the Wi-Fi off from my router here. But the Wi-Fi only comes on when a device wants to communicate with it.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. It would be great if you can send the name of this a brand or company that's making this router. We'll look into it.
So who are you and who do you represent?
So I'm Devansh, and I represent the Elegant Initiative, and we sort of are creating a campaign regarding the harmful effects of technology. And one of the areas that we looked into is EMF radiation. And
okay.
it was just from my own experiences as well in my life. that I've tried various different products to prevent EHS, EMF. With I've tested with EMF meters. Silver fabric is something that seems to be effective, but I would like your take on that.
I wear it all the time. I'm wearing it now. That's what. I don't know. Can you see my video?
Yes.
There's my silver-lined hood on.
That looks great.
A bit naff, really. It's not very stylish, but it works. So I use it. It allows me to, a lot of my work, my survey work is in London. And so it's on an electric train with high magnetic fields, filled with, in a metal tube, filled with people using Wi-Fi. So it's extraordinarily high levels in there. And I'm able to get up to town and back again. And still feel okay, whereas previously I couldn't.
So we're also looking into sort of developing a product similar to clothing, clothing itself, that has silver linings within those garments. And we were sort of also trying to understand the best way, from the perspective of a EHS sensitive person, how can we sort of make this product so it's as effective as possible?
Okay, so you're a company that's effectively doing development of products to help electrosensitives.
Yes. Okay,
and what was sorry, the line is really that whenever you want to say anything important, it goes distorted. So what's the name of your company or organization?
So it's basically conducting research, and also at the current moment we're trying to develop a clothing line that helps out people who are EHS sensitive.
What is the name of your organization?
Elegant Initiative.
And Elegant, E-L-E-G-A-N-T.
Yes.
Interesting.
So I'm currently visiting in London, and I've been conducting research regarding this specific topic. And from my own life experiences,
don't go on again. Sorry, what are you doing in London?
I'm just conducting research, attending events.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, as soon as you say anything important, it goes garbled. It's amazing. Sorry. Excuse me. No. It's just this distortion on my system.
So from your perspective, what would be your input in, maybe developing these garments? And what do you think is a very important factor in these garments that could really help out an EHS sensitive person?
Well, I've tried all of the big suppliers of clothing, and we make some where there are gaps in what people want and need. Mm-hmm. So I'm in amongst everything else. I'm doing similar things. But one of the things that I'm really working on at the moment, I've been concentrating on for the last year, is electromagnetic interference. So have you ever heard of Fourier analysis or Fourier transforms?
I have not.
Okay, it's a very important concept. It's all there on Wikipedia. It's Fourrier. Mm-hmm. I imagine it's French for somebody who provides the furs. Mm-hmm. As in fur coats.
Yeah.
Mr. Fourier. Anyway, so he was a mathematician, 19th century, and he looked at waveforms. And so if you ordinary everyday electronics is imperfect, you have to pay a lot of money for electronics which provides pure waveform. In other words, you pay a lot of extra money for hi-fi. Mm-hmm. yeah, because there's a lot of work to do with the electronics to make it have a pure signal. But ordinary everyday electronics is very distorted. So the waveform, which should be a pure sine wave, do you know what a sine wave is?
Yes.
Have you done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it should be a pure sine wave, and that's a pure alternating current signal, and that's what should be on the mains.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many things plugged into the mains, particularly power supplies, so battery chargers, and also the little power supply in LED lamps now, all that kind of stuff. Anything that converts the voltage 230 volts down to a small number, 6, 9, 20, whatever it is, volts direct current, actually doesn't produce anything approaching direct current, and also the way it takes the power off the mains is very jaggedy. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is it distorts that pure waveform. And any distortion on the waveform introduces an infinite series of what's called harmonics. Mm-hmm. So when you're listening to the orchestra, the flute is the purest note, and that's an almost pure sine wave. But if you have, for instance, the clarinet, mm-hmm. which sounds very different, it can still be playing the same fundamental note as part of the music, mm-hmm. but you can tell the difference between a flute and the clarinet because of the extra harmonics produced, which are absolute direct multiples of the fundamental note. Mm-hmm. So, and it goes on and on for an infinite series. So you get ever decreasing amounts of ever higher frequencies to produce this distorted sine wave. So as soon as you get any distortion for any reason at all on electrical circuits, you have harmonics. Mm-hmm. And our bodies, what is becoming very, very evident is that our bodies are electronic, mm-hmm. are bioelectronic. And all of the processes in our cells and in our bodies and how our bodies are organized and all that kind of stuff, the shape of our organs and all this kind of things, our morphology is done through sound and electromagnetic resonance. So there are lots of healing modalities now that are coming out with electronics, but also with sound therapy with different frequencies. Mm-hmm. So the normal state of affairs is, so I live in a nice small village in Sussex, mm-hmm. In the South Downs National Park. It's very pretty and it's very nice, but we've got a tiny high street, which is very narrow with buildings either side. And on a Saturday morning, the Harley Davidson crew come through, my God. And they don't have any silencers at all. It's just a tube coming out the engine, blah, 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 blah. And there's about 20 of them. And if I'm on the phone anywhere in my flat, it's absolutely deafening. I have to stop and wait for them to go through. It's deafening. And so unsilenced, powerful things like inverters or variable speed motor controllers on heat pumps, battery charging systems for home power and those kind of things, mm-hmm. all are like unsilenced Harley Davidsons. And so they are blatching this noise all around our wiring. And electrically sensitive people experience symptoms because of it. The American word for it is dirty electricity. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what dirty electricity is all about, and it's very, very common. So with a colleague and the other part of my team, we've developed filters that quieten down this, the home energy problem. So the home energy problem is from battery systems, from solar panel inverters, and also car chargers. And so we can we can actually silence all that stuff. But plus we do a bit of other things. So we do a bit of shielding here and there with the kind of materials that you're talking about making clothing out of, to restrict the so you tend to get electrosensitives sleeping underneath solar panels, which are on the roof above them.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of frequencies in there. So the inverter not only puts its noise on the AC side, i.e. output into the mains electricity, but also puts it, leaks it out onto the DC side, in other words, where the power's coming from the roof. And we put in filter systems to sort those out too. It's a new thing. It's proving very popular amongst our customers. And I mean, the first one we ever did was for a lady who had got a heat pump, and every time she's got an office, she works from home, and she's got a garden and an office off the back of her garage. And every time the heat pump came on, she had to get out of the house and go to her office in the garden because it would be the dirty electricity on it. Anyway, we put a filter on that. She's all right. She's all happy.
Do you think these electricity filters, they're effective in correcting the dirty electricity within these circuits?
Within what?
Within the dirty electricity within the circuits.
What do you think? They were effective? Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what they're designed for. That's what they do. Yeah. You can see it on the oscilloscope.
Okay. Do you think that EHS also impacts mental health? Because some of the things that we researched, that there are some indirect impacts of EMF in the way that, like you just discussed, that our body has its own electrical circuits, or interacts through very small charges. And
very small cartridges, I heard. What's it? Very small what?
Very small charges.
Charges. Oh, okay.
And then the way being said that hormones and this and that can be impacted, and indirectly that can lead to things like cancer and other diseases.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all dying of cancer. More than half of us are dying of cancer now, and there's no answer for it. And Cancer Research UK Research Centre is funded by a mobile phone company.
Really? That's very interesting, and I actually didn't know that they're funded or operated by a telecom company.
They're funded, yeah. Their main research centre. It's even got their name on it.
Do you think?
I think it's actually.
Do you think these telecom companies try to conceal these harmful effects of EMF?
Yes.
Sir,
yeah, it's very obvious.
Sir, how long have you been EHS sensitive?
Well, I realised that I was because I had that constant migraine in 2004, 20 years ago.
Okay. And at that time, since, development of different technologies, 5G rolling out, new Wi-Fi technologies, this and that, what would you say is the difference from 2004 to right now?
Well, I'm just stating the obvious. There's just a lot more of it in terms of the amount of individual things, I don't know, Wi-Fi routers or whatever, and also the number of different technical formats for them. So all this new madness for the Internet of Things and having smart smart houses, which are just ridiculous. So you've got babies' nappies that will send signal that the nappy is wet,
Mm-hmm.
using Bluetooth. Wonderful. Never mind the baby. It helps the mum. She knows when she needs to change the nappy. I just think, and I don't know. I'm a strong. I'm one of the reasons why I'm really badly electrosensitive is because I'm literally very sensitive. So I am a water diviner. I find water for people. Done it all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm deliberately make myself sensitive to outside things. But also part of that is telepathy. Certainly with my kids, one of them woke up with toothache or whatever. I was there. I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they wanted me. I didn't need a baby minder. I was naturally connected to them.
Mm-hmm. And in regards to EMI and fiber networks, what is your take on that?
Well, of course, I run a sort of help line. Almost, people ring me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
At least once a day, I get a phone call. Some of them very difficult. I have a very difficult work because people get so isolated. I mean, you say about mental health problems. I mean, bloody hell, it couldn't get worse. So you've got these horrendous symptoms, often neurological, all kinds of, very, very bad symptoms. And then some people will cotton on to the fact that it's electromagnetically caused. And they go to see their doctor, and then they get sectioned. They get locked away.
Mm-hmm.
They have enough, because of what the patient is saying, they have enough, it ticks enough boxes to say that this person is a danger to themselves and needs to be locked away. And they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of individuals have been, termed as crazy or bonkers, or knowing the fact that it was EHS?
Critical thing happens when their family doesn't support them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a good relationship with my brother, but it took 15 years for him to accept that I was electrosensitive. The symptoms I get are real.
Mm-hmm.
They do actually now switch the Wi-Fi off when I go and visit them, which is quite a relief.
Now, in terms of
lots to do.
There is. Would you be interested in joining, our research group in trying to prove that EMF is actually harmful? We're just sort of looking out and where we can find evidence to actually prove something like that.
No. Well, I mean, I'm very interested in any research in this area, but
mm-hmm.
to be honest, it's already been proven 1,000 times. So what's the point?
So do you think that this is something that should be promoted or brought into more awareness of the specific issue should be there?
Well,
Hello.
How you doing?
Yes. So we were just saying that, I was just saying that, do you think there should be more awareness brought into the public about EHS and EMF?
Yes. Obviously, yes, totally.
So we're sort of creating a short film / documentary about EMF and EHS in general. So would you like to sort of, do you think something very specific should be included in that specific film?
Well, why not? I don't know. It depends on your strategy. Yeah, could be. Yes, anything. I'm up for anything that promotes this.
Okay.
Of the VHS. Yeah.
If you'd like to maybe give a testimonial within the film, either you can keep your identity concealed or as you want. That's entirely up to you.
Don't mind. Yeah. Okay.
What do you think is something very specific we should include in this film that everybody should know about?
That it's very important to reduce your exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to live a modern life, it's very difficult. You lose out an awful lot if you don't do like what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Is using a laptop and using Zoom. What would we, so much of life and interaction is now importantly using technology.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so there's an awful lot you can do. So I've set up my computer here. I've got, you can see my video, can't you?
Yes.
So I've got this earth wire plugged into the side of on the side of my computer here to take the voltage, the floating voltage from the power supply down to earth level, 0 volts. And that applies so that when I hold my mouse, my wired mouse, not my wireless mouse with all its very, very radio signals I'm on Ethernet. So I'm on flight mode. Yes, I'm on flight mode. Yeah, just checking. I'm on flight mode, and so I can use this computer all day, and I don't get a headache.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I was to put Wi-Fi on, I'd give it 10 minutes, or I got a thumping headache and couldn't think straight.
Mm-hmm.
So I just learned over so many years, and luckily, my background is physics and engineering, so that I have an analytical mind when it comes to setting things up.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, for instance, on a smartphone, there are like 7 transmitters, or maybe 8, and you could turn a lot of those off.
Mm-hmm.
So that you needn't affect your body nearly so much. Also, rules like never, ever put a mobile phone to your head.
Mm-hmm.
If you had said it, so they were beginning to understand microwaves in the 1950s, and if you had said to a microwave engineer, you were going to put a microwave transmitter to your head, they would have thought you were mad.
Mm-hmm. It
was known then to make you impotent. Well, yes, you're sorry, not impotent, it's the wrong word. Infertile.
Mm-hmm.
So, this has been around for a long time. It's just got an awful lot more common. And, to see babies playing with iPhones and things, it gives me the willies.
Hmm. And would you be, we would like to send you like a complimentary garments that we're making just to try out and, see for yourself how effective it is in blocking out EMF and preventing EHS.
Okay. Well, what I'd like and what I tend to wear all the time is long sleeve hoodies,
Mm-hmm.
Like a sweatshirt like this,
Yes.
Or long johns, basically. Stuff you put on under your trousers, and so that I've got a lot of shielding on my body then.
Mm-hmm. Is there any specific part you feel that should be more protected?
Actually, less than you might think. I used to get these terrible migraines after working in London for the day, so up and back. That was just an hour and a quarter's train ride for me. Then I might go on the underground, things like that. And my late wife, so we went to see a supplier for what was my wallpaper. That was right. We went to see a supplier in Germany, and he also did clothing. And my birthday was coming up. My wife said, "I know. I'll get you some. I'll get you buy you a birthday present. I'll get you some clothing." And I said, "Well," I said, "You know, my problem is headaches from going up to London. So unless," I said, "have you ever seen the beekeepers' hats they used to make?"
Yeah.
And I've been to a meeting where someone was wearing one of them, and I respect the need, and actually they work pretty well. But my God, it's very disconcerting socially not being able to see their eyes. And so there was no way I was going to wear one of those in the train up to London. I'm too vain. And I said, well, you know, headache's my problem. It's, you know, wearing body clothing is not going to do any good. But it did. It worked beautifully. So the only thing I can think of is that it's the radiating my blood, and that when the blood gets to my head, it's been treated, it's been irradiated, and it causes the headache. So it more important is the amount of square footage of your skin that is covered is the important thing, rather than in the small areas. Because anyway, for my headaches, for my migraines anyway.
And what do you think about
you know, or kind of skull cap.
And what do you think about electric cars, Teslas, and this and that?
Think about.
Hello, the connection just got a bit. What do you think about electric cars? You know, Teslas and things like that.
Well, I'm talking about Priuses, which are Toyotas were the first ones, where they were taxis. And so I've been in a load of Prius taxis, and it takes 3 minutes before I feel very wobbly and very, very, very badly affected. But they've got better. So BMWs I've been in are more or less okay, and I've taken measurements. But the worst things about cars, or the worst thing about cars is on Teslas, on the Model 3 anyway, taking measurements while they're charging. And if the magnetic fields from charging the battery are fantastically high, so you should be nowhere near the car when you're charging. And I really mean that very seriously. I mean, it's been known since the 1970s that magnetic fields like that cause leukemia. And there's a load of research. There's hundreds of research papers about that. So don't go anywhere near your electric car while it's charging, or the power cable for it. But also, I think the biggest one is likely is about cars suffer from, and that is magnetization of their tires. So the machine that puts the tires on magnetizes the tire, and you need to demagnetize that. And I've worked out a method for doing that. and that makes a big difference to how tired you feel after being on a journey, for everybody, actually.
Does this apply to conventional cars as well, or just electric cars?
It applies to all cars. All cars with a still, I mean, some very old cars have what's called radial fly tires from the 1960s. I suppose if you had I don't even know if they have them these days, but anyway, all car tires now have a steel band underneath the tread to give it strength.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't magnetize. It's not magnetized by the manufacturing process, but it's manufactured, but it's magnetized by the process of the tire. And I've done a load of work on it. And if I could find an investor, I would set up a business. You haven't got an investor in tow. Hello?
Hello, yes, hi.
You haven't got an investor in tow, have you?
An investor?
I mean, who's funding your business?
So it's basically, at the moment, it's just family funded, but we are looking for investors.
Oh, okay. And what brought you to it then? Is one of you electrosensitive?
Well, I've had headaches and things in the past quite a bit, and I sort of looked into different frequencies, even bought this small box called Blue Shield in an attempt to sort of, create a frequency where I'm comfortable in. But, finding out that there are so many devices that actually that impacted me. It was quite looking into different technologies. I'm actually into tech as well, but trying to find a way to develop in technology. And been looking to sort of find a way to develop safer technology.
Safer
technology.
It's safer?
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah. Well, I think that's the key for research. Finding out more about what causes or which, what mechanisms there are.
Yeah.
And how to develop technology which doesn't trigger us so much.
Mm-hmm.
So research into making safer technology is what's needed. I honestly don't think there's any merit with trying to convince people that the EHS is real. I think it will come from people, more and more people receiving medical procedures, whatever they might be, that improve electrosensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And also loads of safer technology, like better routers and all this kind of stuff, better mobile phones that don't injure our health so much.
What type of mobile device do you currently use, if you have one? Is it like one of those old phones, or is it more of a smartphone?
I use a smartphone but I use a smartphone on Ethernet most of the time. That's in my home office. I've got an Ethernet cable plugged into it, and so I can use WhatsApp but I can't use 4G. Well, 4G voice.
Mm-hmm.
Need to. I haven't found a way around that yet, but so I use that a bit when I'm out and about. Yes, say for instance, when I'm listening to podcasts, I always download them first.
Mm-hmm.
As much as possible, particularly in the car, my phone is on flight mode.
Yeah.
Using a phone inside a car.
Would you like to conduct a podcast sometime? We also sort of every now and then have podcasts on various different topics, and EHS is something very interesting, and a lot of people that I've talked to, they just said that they were unaware of such an issue.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think whatever those reasons are to be made worse. Your electromagnetic environment kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone with autoimmune problems, I'd say, get your electromagnetic environment sorted.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the medical and healthcare systems would be less burdened if people sort of started understanding more about EMF and EHS?
Let's say that 30% of the population have got symptoms from which can be made better from sorting out your electromagnetic environment. There's 30%, whereas the normal figures are 2, 3, or 4% who are EHS.
Okay.
But even that's quite a lot of people.
Do you think there is any specific trigger or mechanism when a person starts becoming EHS, or is it just, somebody notices it one day?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Do you think there is something, a specific trigger or anything specific when a person starts becoming EHS, or is it just something somebody notices one day?
It was almost like there's so many aspects to that question. Sorry, it's not easy to answer. In my case, I spent 2 years because I knew it didn't exist before I decided that I've got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't given the choice. If I had the choice, I would say EHS is a load of rubbish and doesn't exist. So they're all just making it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found out I wasn't given the choice on that. I'm not really capable of making the decision for myself. I just decided, well, actually, my life's not worth living. I don't want to end it. I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
What shall I do? I just switch everything off. But I mean, what the distressing thing is, there's just so many suicides of EHS people because they're misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need a lot more sympathy and understanding.
Yeah. Is it only the symptoms of migraines?
I'm used to people's negative reactions, and I just.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry, is it only the symptoms of?
Is it only the symptoms of migraines that you experience when you are exposed to EHS?
No, I get cramp in my neck, um, and the main symptoms of the migraine is what's called trigeminal neuralgia, which is basically it's like someone driving a 4-inch nail into your eye and head. It's like being Christ on the cross. Yeah, it's indescribably painful. That's what makes it. I mean, it came with a migraine. It came with a migraine, but actually, it's the trigeminal neuralgia, which is the killer pain that I get, and I still get it mildly now when I watch too much screen time. But it's not so bad.
From my experience, I had a migraine once, and I went to a hospital, NHS actually, and they just said you have lethargy. And every time I went, I said that I have this pain or something. They just put it aside and said it's lethargy. And this was the time.
It's what allergy?
Lethargy.
Lethargy.
Yes, lethargy.
Lethargy. Well, it's just that you were lazy.
Well, yes, that's what they were saying.
That's ridiculous.
I know. That's what my report from the NHS say, that I was lethargic at that time.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, you might have been. But what if you were lethargic? What was making you not function normally so that you weren't so active?
That's the thing. It was the EMF actually, and it was very difficult to actually explain what was happening, in terms of migraines or this and that.
God, just bonkers.
Is there anything else you would like to add? You think the public should be aware about in regards to EMF and EHS?
I actually think a lot. I mean, a lot of pets are hurt by this. A lot of pets get disturbed, and there's many accounts of noisy electronics, not stand noise, electrically noisy stuff, insects. Every ecosystem relies in some part to insects, not least pollination. And they're all just gone, and it's all happened so quickly. So as mobile phone masts are going up, so all the insects are dying. Have you read The Invisible Rainbow?
I haven't, but I know for a fact that bees and things, if they go extinct, that's a really big problem.
Yes, and so Arthur Firstenberg, is it Firstenberg, some name like that anyway, who wrote the book, it does a very good email. It's described as a regular communication, and his latest one is accounts of so many birds around the world just dropping out of the sky. I mean, that's what's happened to insects. Birds are taking the rainbow parakeet in northern Australia, or I know Brisbane. I've forgotten the they're all just dropping out of the sky, these beautiful birds. And we need to quickly modify. I mean, I talk about 5G. I mean, 5G is so complex. There are so many different aspects to it. Even if we only forget the satellite, we're only looking at mobile phone technology. The upgrade in sophistication so that each cell mast is used so much more efficiently and with so much bigger capacity. It's extraordinary. I mean, the S have the safety culture. So for many years, I was in car design, and any component on a car, the door handle, the petrol cap, the windscreen, the clutch pedal, or whatever it is designed with safety in mind. And that if and so that cars now are so much safer. So if you drove into a motorway bridge pillar in a 1960s tiny mini, at 30 miles an hour, you would just be mincemeat. Literally, the engine will come at you and destroy you.
Okay.
Whereas in a modern mini, you can drive into a bridge pillar at 30 miles an hour, and you just get out. I mean, the car is finished. That's the difference between if you design everything for safety and have regulation with that kind of legislative backup. You can. If someone had said in the 1960s, "Oh well, if you buy a Mini in 2024, you'll be able to drive into a brick wall at 30 miles an hour, and you'll be okay." And so very often, so even on motorway things, normally people have time to brake, and so that you cut the speed from say 80 down or 70, 80 down to probably about 30. So this is why the road death statistics are so much less these days. And apart from it was primary safety with better brakes and steering and all that stuff as well. But nevertheless, it's and the same should be happening to mobile phones. So the same amount of effort that's gone into the car industry to make the cars not completely safe. There's no such thing as total safety. You will always have accidents. Will always happen, and people will get injured in that if they're not wearing a seatbelt or whatever. But so it's something that should be done on mobile phones now. It should be realised that they're dangerous devices, and I mean really dangerous. Close to home, my father died from kidney cancer after wearing a mobile phone in a wallet, which he had. He thought it was cool and trendy, but it probably killed him because it was just where his mobile phone was, and where the cancer started. And so he, poor chap. Anyway, so it's very close to home, and I'm lucky in a way to have discovered this and to sort of live my life with a very low electrosmog exposure, very low, or relatively speaking, very low. Even though I use a phone and I use a computer and drive a car. I've got an older car because the electronics are nice and simple.
Do you think that people will accept this issue a bit more if it's presented in a different way rather than like documentary, but more of a film with a hidden meaning, things like that?
Yeah, well. There was a very portrayal of electrosensitivity.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got 4 minutes left anyway. So, do you remember Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Okay, well, the prequel to that, which came later, was Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Saul's hero, older brother, was called Chuck, and he was very, very electrosensitive. And he had the whole interior of his house ripped out, and it was, you know, it was taking the piss really, but it was very good. And so people often now, if I tell about electrosensitivity, oh, you mean Better Call Saul? Oh, I remember, yeah. And so it was done in a way that anybody who wanted to could really take the piss, but actually it was fairly accurate in terms of what could happen to people. And did you watch it?
Yes, I have.
That's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a good actor. But anyway, we're running out of time.
It was great talking to you, Guy, and stay in touch. I'll let you know.
Let me know when you're down in Brighton.
Okay, sure.
We can meet up. Okay. Hey, good talking to you. Anyway, bye now.
See you. Take care.